All right, a little bit more of a background story on me. This will be interesting because it includes a lot of. I have a lot of theories to share. So I was always doing sports. Um, my parents put me into sports because I had a lot of energy. I think that's what I said, and so I guess I was misbehaving. Again, I am neurodivergent and like autistic, so slightly autistic at least. So maybe they misinterpreted my mental situation with having too much energy. So they put me into a lot of sports, and I was in sports schools, and I think it was also because the health. Um, my grandparents were health freaks, so so my whole family was kind of aware of health, and I guess it was also because of it was getting popular to be healthy, right? And well, maybe in terms of dieting and exercise, right? I mean, I guess throughout history, people wanted to be healthy. Anyway, yeah, they put me into a lot of sports, and it was it was just everything at once. It was snowboarding, kite surfing, swimming. You know, I was swimming so much, man. I went to a like primary school. Just every morning for 2 hours I would swim, and I would get coached on swimming. And then basketball, even though I'm not very tall. Obviously soccer. I was raised in Europe, mostly. um, what else I did? Not cycling, yeah, I mean, but a lot of cycling. I mean, I lived on the shores, like on the coastline, so next to the beach, and there was just bicycle paths everywhere. So, and there was a forest, massive forest. So I always had a mountain bike, and I would go into the forest and yeah, ride a lot. Often, sometimes with friends, but I always had, because my family is my father is very social, but he's obviously also slight autistic and clearly a narcissist and neurodivergent. But for some reason he was raised in Peru, so I guess we learned how to be he learned how to be good socially in the Latino culture. So then he translated that to me, and I kind of learned how to be very good socially if I try. And also not it's not if I regularly see somebody, it deteriorates, right? So anyway, sports. I got into running too. I was doing kickboxing, karate, judo, uh, non-stop. And then at a certain point, you know, I think maybe my parents wanted me to develop other interests than just sports. So they just kind of let me do whatever I wanted, like kind of like pick whatever I want to do. So I stopped doing sports. Pretty much, especially because the internet was growing so much, and they kind of wanted me to be more of a get more into using the internet, and so stops sports stopped. And what happens to a athlete, I guess athlete, a child athlete, or somebody doing a lot of sports, and they stop. they get fat, right? Because the calorie, you get used to this caloric intake that you need, right, to support so much activity, physical activity, and then you just sit and you stop it completely. You know, the appetite doesn't go away. In fact, it grows because you're sitting in, you know, in the apartment. You're sitting at your house and you all of a sudden you don't move. You just, and there's the kitchen and you're hungry, and it gets into a habit and you become really fat and you become a fat kid. Now, my grandparents in Peru, they were health freaks. So I've missed the part of the story where I actually moved to Peru when I was around 8 years old, and my grandparents would feed us the nastiest things imaginable, saying they're healthy. I mean, they would eat, yeah, that's what they ate, so we ate that too. But it was almost sadistic. And then, especially to my mother, she hated every bit of it. And so easy to figure out that we left Peru because of my mother eventually. And then we lived in, we moved, guess where we moved? We moved to Canada, right? Which is basically like America. At least in terms of the food, right? Canada basically has American food and their own versions of it. And so what happened is I went through from eating the nastiest health food in Peru, which means you're eating these weird random fruits and vegetables. I mean, as an 8-year-old, it is not a thrilling experience, especially when they blend it all together and then make you drink that, you know, make you drink it forcefully, and saying, well, it doesn't taste good, but it's good for you. And then you go to Canada, where they have where everything costs $3, and you know, $3 burger is the size of a plate. You know, I mean, you know, this is just like a metaphor here, but that's kind of what it was. And then we lived with my uncle and my aunt for quite a while, and they had money, I think, so they just bought everything. They just kept buying food, you know. They took us every restaurant there is, you know. So actually at that point I got really fat as well. And then I came back to Europe, and then we went, and then I got, you know, I stayed fat and I got fatter too. And then even if I did sports, I was still quite fat. Anyway, then I went back to Peru to visit my grandparents, and I welcomed their morbidly obese grandchild while being health freaks, right? So my grandpa took it upon himself to teach me as much as possible about health and potential ways of me losing the weight, right? And I think his goal was to actually make me lose the weight right there on the spot, but obviously it didn't happen. And then I went back to Europe, to my home, and for some reason I was like, yeah, let me lose all the weight. And then I applied what he taught me, and I also did a lot of research online, and I was 14 at the time, and I lost a lot of weight. I mean, all of it. Obviously I didn't get shredded, you know, because I was 14. I didn't use medication and compounds, you know, and I guess steroids can help you with weight loss too. Certainly, especially if you certain body compositions, yeah, you give them some testosterone and they just lean out, you know, because I think it's mostly a lot of it is the facial, the genetic predisposition towards face, bloated face, right? Water retention in the face. I have the worst by far. I mean, obviously there's worse, but I have the worst I've seen, I think, out of all my friends. Um, so it's actually a lot of work to achieve what I have already here, and it's just not where it could be. Um, it's not where it could be. But then again, it's probably almost up there. I mean, I'm not I am not the best looking dude. I am not incredibly good looking, and the face. I think I've surpassed my natural ability that I could have achieved. The things that I could have achieved naturally, I've definitely surpassed it, thanks to using medication and now I have a theory that yes, using steroids does, obviously it changes kind of like your facial structures, but it's just a theory, right? I mean, yeah, because I did grow a full beard from using steroids. I did not have a beard. I had something here maybe, and that's it. I didn't even have. I don't have a mustache or nothing. Now, like, I know if I just kept blasting steroids, I'll probably fill in here more and here more. Anyway, regardless of that, so that's the backstory. All right, and I was 14, and I got lean. I got really lean, and everybody was praising me and praising my grandpa. And yeah, he was a great mentor my whole life up until I turned 18. But then he had other grandchildren to take care of, so he was a great mentor, so I would attribute that to him. But a lot of it was the internet. So and honestly, simply not eating. that's a lot of it. Just don't eat, right? You're gonna lose weight. But actually, a lot of the topic of my channel here is fighting against water retention with medication, right? Yourself, because good luck having a doctor help you with that. So anyway, I was lean at 14, really lean, and people were impressed. And I was like, I don't like being small. I liked when I was walking around, fucking big, right? So I started working out at 14, and I built a gym in my room. And I had a massive steel squat rack. I got some guy to weld me for no money. Basically, some guy welded me really well a whole squat rack with a pull-up bar. I already had a pull-up bar with different grips in the house, but yeah, I had put this squat rack in in an apartment building, no less, in my room. And then and on top of that, I had a massive underground facility in the where the apartment was, with a whole gym. Well, mostly cardio stuff. Yeah, they lacked equipment for. They seriously lacked equipment for bodybuilding or powerlifting or anything else. It was just cardio equipment and a massive squash court underground. It was wild. Somehow there was a sauna, there was a lot of things, but anyway, I built it in my tiny room. It wasn't a big room. I bought some barbells and weights, obviously, dumbbells. I had to customize the rack to be a bench press too. And yeah, I was working out every day. It was just like I was before, doing all these sports for hours. I naturally was working out every day for minimum an hour and a half to 3 hours every day. Because I would just forget that even to measure the time. I would just put some music on, and then my stepdad and my mother were like kind of watching me from the side eye, and that gave me even more of a drive. I was like, I ain't no bitch, I ain't no pussy. It's fuck. I was dialed in, and I loved it. It was great. Till this day, I really enjoy weightlifting. Even though I haven't been doing it for the past 8 months. Sometimes you love a thing, but yeah, without steroids, I am not gonna be weightlifting. And you might learn why. So, okay, maybe I'll leave this for this is part one, and I'll film part two now because it's getting very long. All right, bye bye.